G'day guys, and welcome back to the unofficial Karate Combat Show. I'm with Leon, and we've got a special guest, Ross Turbo Levine. How you going,
What's
bro?
going on, fellas?
He's
Doing
the,
good, doing good. How about yourself?
Yeah, great, man. Great. Pretty pumped to have you on the show.
Second week. So first week, I may have made a mistake with timing, but we're all good. We're all good.
So yeah, obviously Ross is the current gold belt middleweight champ for karate combat, and he's had many other successes in point sparring and also glory kickboxing. Any other kickboxing or just glory?
As a professional,
Yeah.
I fought for two different organizations. Actually, kind of the same organization, same promotions, but before Glory. And then I was very fortunate to get into Glory really early in my pro career. I had a couple of people in high places that were like, "Here's your shot. You better do something with it." And fortunately, I did. But yeah, it was a couple local promotions that I fought for as an amateur. I fought for Lace Up Promotions as a pro debut. And then the owner of Lace Up Promotions is actually heavily involved with Badu Jack, the boxer. And they do a lot of shows in Saudi Arabia, Jordan, things like that. So they had put on a kickboxing boxing show in Dubai. And I was able to do my second pro fight on that card in Dubai, which was unbelievable. And all the proceeds went to the Badu Jack Foundation, which was amazing. So that was really cool to be a part of that. And then I got my shot with Glory.
Okay, that's cool. Well, before you got to Glory, how did you? How did you get the name Turbo? Is it from
it's a funny story.
ex-girlfriends or?
No, I mean that would probably been better, but no. When I was younger, I was always kind of like a bigger guy in my weight class, just like big frame. I definitely don't have the physical gifts that I do now. That's years and years of work in the gym and stuff like that and training the right way. But when I was younger, I was always just bigger than like the guys in my weight class. So I had to be like 16 and I was just changing at a karate tournament. And this guy that we knew from the area was like, "Oh, this guy looks like an American Gladiator. He looks like Turbo," which was one of the American Gladiators, that TV show. So people heard it. It was, it was in a ballroom where we were all just kind of getting ready to do some sparring, and yeah, it just stuck. People started calling me Turbo, and that was that.
Does everybody call you Turbo now, or do they call you Ross, or just like, "Hey, Turbo, what's going on, bro?"
It's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. Some people are, I mean, my close friends, obviously, they'll call me Ross, and they'll just like dig at me, be like, "Oh, Turbo, what's up?" Like when they want to, mess with me a little bit. But yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag. You got some people that'll call me Turbo kind of right off the rip, which is fine with me too. I mean, if you're going to be given a nickname, I was lucky to have a good one, so I'm happy with it.
Well, my nickname used to be Shrek, which is not a good name. I know, mate. Yeah, it's a shame. What was your?
Everybody loves Shrek.
Well, yes, but it's not a great. Not a great nickname. What was your fight name?
Oh, I went with The Last Samurai.
Yeah, The Last Samurai.
The kids at school said, "Why didn't you go with the professor, sir?" And I was like, because I'm a school teacher as well. And I was like, actually, I was going to go with professor first, and I changed it at the last minute. So I didn't even think of it. Honestly, like it was. I was just training for the fight, and a week or two before, they're like sent out a little survey, fill in these questions. Oh, and what's your fight name? I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, but we had this whole chat going. There's about 5 of us giving all names for you. So
outsourced it obviously, but
yeah, it would have been better.
Yeah, you got to.
We had so many better names than The Last Samurai.
A lot of them were inappropriate.
A lot of them were.
Hey, you know what?
On this podcast, so
you got to be confident in your name to go in and be like, "Yep, that's me." You got to claim it, and now it's yours. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, back to you, man. So. Was karate the first martial art that you started, and when did you start? Like as a kid, or?
Yeah, so I actually don't have any formal Japanese style training. I started with Taekwondo when I was 7. Actually, just following in my brother's footsteps. So he had won. I never wanted to do martial arts. I was just very active, rollerblading. Just being in the street, playing with my friends. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, so a lot of like blacktop, basketball, baseball, stuff like that. But my brother did martial arts, and he started in Taekwondo. And then he brought home a trophy from an inter-school tournament, and I was like, "Ooh, I want that." I like stole it, put it by my bed, and my dad's like, "No, you can't do that. You got to go and try it." So I'm like, "Okay, cool." So got into martial arts for all the wrong reasons, but here we are, right?
Well, is there a wrong reason to get into martial arts?
As long as you get into it. Nah,
yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
I got into it because I was watching, Jackie Chan movies and Ninja Turtles, and
yeah,
I was like, I wanna kick some ass. So
that's how old you are, yeah.
Yeah.
Getting Ninja Turtles.
So,
yeah, I had no choice.
I mean, I did all that. I did all that too. I mean, I watched a lot of like the cartoons, like the X-Men. I even like before I even started doing martial arts, I remember waking up early in the morning on like Saturdays, and my dad would have like the K1 kickboxing because my dad was a martial artist. And I would just go in, I would just like jump in bed and kind of watch, and we would just watch like Michael McDonald, like Ray Sefo, Mark Hunt, like back in the K1 super fight days, and it like blew my mind. But I was never like, I want to do this. So it just kind of fell into place, I guess, over time.
Oh, perfect. So
you started with the Taekwondo when you were 7, and then what did you go from there?
Yeah, so I mean, Taekwondo, it's been a long lineage. We stayed under the same umbrella of Kang system Taekwondo. So
is that what your dad did?
Yeah, so my dad trained with Suchong Kang, who was the originator of this style over from Korea. He came over and started teaching. My dad got his black belt from him. So he had 3 sons, 2 of which did Taekwondo as well. And my brother and I were under one of those, Taesun Kang. And then there was actually the other brother, Hosung Kang, went to the more Olympic style Taekwondo. So after, I want to say maybe like 5 or 6 years, we wanted to try a little bit of that because we wanted to do the competition. So we did a little bit of that. And they promoted me to my 3rd degree, competed a little bit, but I didn't love the Olympic Taekwondo. We really fell in love with the sport karate, the point fighting.
Does anybody like the sport Taekwondo, the WTF Taekwondo? God, it's
Damien Villa,
shit now.
Right?
Oh. Yeah, it's really gone down. I think
post 2000.
No, I think once they brought in
the sensors,
the body, the sensors, and like you could like score like just by
foot like this,
like literally touching, like, score 3 times by touching with your foot 3 times.
Anyway, this is not an episode to talk about. We can't fix those problems yet.
It's tough. There's no, you're never going to please everyone when it comes to that. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff about point fight. Well, I can tell you right now, there's a lot of stuff about the sport karate circuit that I don't like. And then I'm sure there's plenty with the WKF and the Olympic style stuff. So it's like, it always gets tricky.
Basically what it is as a fighter, competitor, whatever you want to call it, like you're there to win. So if you're not playing the rule set, you're an idiot, right? Like you're playing to their win. So you can't blame, like if they have the rules that you can touch with your foot 3 times, you get 3 points. I'm going to touch with my foot three times. Like if the rules are if you get to a certain stage and you make them step out, you win. Then you're going to make them. That's a good strategy. So that's why I think having a good rule set makes good fights. And that's actually why I really love, and that's why I'm a big fan of Karate Combat. I think the rule set,
same.
Fantastic. The obviously the pit makes it.
The pit is awesome. I love that.
Great as well because there's no stepping out, but at the same time, it's not just a wall. So I personally I like the ground and pound for 5 seconds, but while you're still standing. I am happy that they brought knees in, and I was actually wanting to ask you about that because obviously with your kickboxing experience, you're used to knees. I saw a couple of your fights, and there's obviously knees in there. But they only brought that rule change in right after your last fight, right? Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, but I have not thrown a knee in the pit yet.
Yeah. So you haven't
legally.
You haven't. There was one kick. There was one kick that was kind of.
There was a kick, but it was the shin because he's come too close.
Yeah. But so what do you think of the knees? Are you looking forward to fighting with that? With them back in?
Yes, absolutely. It's I think I'll give you my 2 opinions. My opinion of the sport in general and where the rule set's going. It's going to force a lot of the WKF guys to learn how to really become more dynamic in the short range as opposed to just the long range. Because right now, if you look at most of the guys that come from the WKF background who are better, like Atamov, like Agaev, even someone like David Donna, right now they're so explode. And then when they get inside, they don't really know what to do. So they grapple. right? But now you're seeing some of the guys, they put their head down a lot when they grapple, and the knees are going to be a bigger factor.
Yeah.
So for those guys, it's a weapon that will neutralize the grappling, because before then it's like the guys who are good grapplers, and even still, like, no one has quite solved the puzzle of a guy of because he's so explosive, he's so fast, and he's so powerful. He just takes people down at will. But someone like Adamov, where I've been training judo leading up to his fight, I shut down almost all of his grappling, where that was a major factor in all of his other fights, and we eliminated that. So now if you take that same fight and you allow me to knee, I mean, I can't help but think I would have finished him. So for me, I love it because, in my opinion, the level of striking is not caught up to where I've done my striking so far.
Like in the close range.
I think, like that kickboxing, even in the middleweight division, like now Sasha Palatnikov is probably the next, like, where I think we're right there. Like, I have a lot of respect for his style, and I can't wait to meet up with him in the pit. But it's God, you add the knees in, it's like it shuts down all the wrestling. So it's a really good option, and I love it. I can't wait to start utilizing it and kind of see where it goes.
I'm looking forward to seeing some knees in the next fight then.
Yeah.
Big time.
What about elbows? What are your thoughts? Should they bring elbows in, keep them out?
I think they should keep them out. Yeah, I mean, elbows are that's not something that you truly work a ton of. And like, in my opinion, even when I was doing kickboxing, like, I shied away from professional Muay Thai because of the elbows. Like, you guys can't really see, but I got tons of scars and cuts from like clashing elbows, clashing foreheads and stuff from sport karate. But yeah, I mean, you can teach a monkey how to high guard, walk through, and cut somebody with an elbow, and it just creates all these unnecessary hospital bills and stuff like that, because it's just cuts. You're going to cut people, and people are just going to leak. But if you need
one elbow, you're leaking straight away. You're leaking, and exactly, and it's just pissing out of your head. Right.
And if you knee me in the face, I deserved it, because it came from the ground. And I should have known where it was, and I didn't. But the elbows are so sneaky inside, and literally it takes this. It's a from tiny little motion. Just, so yeah. So for me, I'm cool with no elbows.
So is there any other?
I also don't think.
Is there any rules? Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Like, is there any other rules that you're thinking maybe will change or should change, or you'd like to change?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, coming from a kickboxing background, I love the thigh kicks, but I understand why they're not there. And I kind of like that they're not there. I don't like it in training, because now I'm getting blasted in my legs. I'm like, I'm not throwing one back because I can't do it in my fight. But yeah, I think it eliminates that, like, B range boxing, kickboxing, where you're pulling those guys out of it. So if you're going to add knees to eliminate the grappling, you can't add the low kick, because it's going to encourage that stand in front of each other and just fight,
closer distance,
which I think karate combat wants the explosion. They want the car crash, so
that's what makes
I kind of,
yeah.
So I honestly, I love the skill set where it is right now, and I hope it stays. If there's other things, but what's cool about karate combat is you can vote on it, right? So they're very open. They're really open with it.
Yeah, I can't wait for those tokens, the karate combat coins, dollars to drop.
Me too, yeah.
So
there'll be more information about that coming out soon. Right?
Well, I've put out 15 email addresses just so I can get 15 chances. So is that wrong, or
I gotta make some email accounts?
Yeah.
So if we track back to how did you get from Glory to Karate Combat? Because you came in season 3, season 2, season 3,
season 3.
Season 3. So how did you get involved?
COVID. I was fighting for Glory in 2019. I had my debut with them I made my pro debut in 2019. So I'm still like a recent pro in my opinion. So I had my 2 fights pre-Glory, and then I had 2 fights with Glory, and I was training for my 3rd, which was in March of 2020. I was supposed to fight in Belgium, And it was an
Oh, yeah.
awesome matchup. It was supposed to be great. And then like 3 weeks before the event, they shut down the whole world. So
Yeah.
you know, we were waiting, and I had a couple more fights left on my contract, and we were just waiting and waiting. And then Glory rebranded. They started doing shows in the Netherlands, but they weren't really pulling Americans over. The only ones that they did were the guys who were ranked, and I was just under the top 10. So, you know, they weren't really moving me, and we kept asking like, "Hey, when am I going to fight? It's been over a year. What's going on?" And you know, they were just like, "Oh, just be patient, be patient." And then I saw Karate Combat was starting to rise, and I'm like, "Well, these guys are doing shows. This is a great skill set for me." So we talked to Glory. They were awesome enough to, you know, to release me, which was great. And Karate Combat, I honestly put in an application just like anybody else. I sent an email, and we made a little video. It was pretty cool, and it was like an audition, and they called me and got me on.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So your first fight for Glory, that a knockout in the first like 30 seconds?
Yeah,
45 seconds?
43 seconds or something.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. We watched that a few times. That was awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Little switch head kick.
It was just, yeah. Well, again, like when you're looking at Muay Thai fighters, boxers, there's no switching. There's no switching, but in karate combat, you know, it's left leg, right leg, left leg, right leg, and I think that gives such a against in Glory, or you know, against a boxer. I never understood why they don't switch.
Yeah, I mean, for me, you always practice both sides, right? Because I've done karate since I was 7, and you always, you know, you do 10 on one side, you switch feet, you do 10 on the other side, and when you're fighting, like obviously you have a preferred side that maybe, you know, but you don't have to always go back to it. And I remember I did a bit of kickboxing, you know, a bit of MMA, and a lot of clubs, not the club that I'm training at now, they're actually pretty good in regards to that, about training both sides. But most people are like, well, are you southpaw or orthodox? I'm like, well, I mean, it kind of depends on what are we doing. And they're like, well, what do you mean?
Yeah.
You should just get good at one. I'm like,
I'll get good at both. But like it wasn't really even a switch kick. You just changed legs, bang. Like technically,
I was trying to get a read. I was looking to see if he was going to react a certain way when I moved. So, you know, he was also a little buzzed already from that lead hook. He was a little out of it. He was a little out of it, and I can tell. And I just wanted to give him a couple little looks just to see, like, is he even there? Like, is he reacting?
Yeah.
And you know, most people, if we're fighting and I kind of move my head and I switch my stances, you're gonna do something or pull back or hands up. And he was just a mummy, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be good.
Sweet
and just threw it up there. Yeah, when I saw he was just kind of blank, I'm like, yeah, he's still not back yet.
Yeah, that's cool. So if we get back to the karate combat, for example, I always wonder how you prepare for a fight. So if you are leading up like a week, so if you're fighting Saturday, what does your Saturday to Saturday look like?
Well, I would say that, you know, you mean the actual fight week, like the week leading up to my fight. I'll be honest, man, it's pretty boring. It's pretty boring.
Great. What do you do?
I try and keep it really low key with my friends and my teammates, you know, my coaches and stuff. So we're actually just joking about it. I train with a lot of the UFC guys that are up here. Like I train with Calvin Cater and Rob Font and all the guys that are up in this area. We all work together. We share the same management. So it's always fun when we get together, and some of those guys are so high strung when it comes to fight week. And one of my coaches, Jake Manini, one of my striking coaches, he came with us for the first time for my title fight, and he was like, man, this is the easiest fight week ever. We're just kind of chilling out in the hotel room. You know, we work out a couple times a day, but we keep it pretty light. Like we like to have a good time. I like to joke around. Like I don't want to be so stressed. Like this is just it's supposed to be fun. So
do you think it's mainly? Do you think it's because of your age as well? I mean, you're not 21. Do you think it's maybe you're a bit more experienced and you know who you are? And
I don't really get I don't get super nervous for fights anymore. So like I can be kind of relaxed. It's when I get left alone in my own thoughts, that's when I start to spiral. So that's why I mean, it's kind of by design. I like to be loose. I like to be relaxed. We'll watch a lot of stand up, we'll go out as long as I'm feeling pretty good. But honestly, man, that last fight week is all about making weight. I just listen to my nutritionist. I do my workouts, and we do what we got to do. And I work with someone called Dylan Nadler. He owns a company called MyBlock, and it's a lot of mental training and preparation. So I work with Dylan. I usually meet with him the night before the fight, and we just go over a bunch of things just to get my head right. But other than that, it's just kind of hanging out, make weight, and then rehydrate.
So just on your coaches, what is so for us, if we're WKF fighters, we just have our dojo sensei, right? We just go out and fight. But what does a professional karate combat athlete, how many coaches do you have? Are they full-time, or how does that work? Because it's not like you're getting Conor McGregor money. And so how does that work for people at home who's just wondering, how can I be a karate combat fighter? Or
yeah, great question. That's an awesome question.
Of course
so
it is, man. Thanks.
when I moved to it's the beer talking. When I moved to Rhode Island, because I'm not originally from where I live now. I grew up in New York City. I live about 3 hours north now. So I bounced around and tried to find the right fit for me when it came to the right coach and the right instructor. And I found the gym that I'm at now, Pride Martial Arts, and my coach, Andrew Cornell. He's got a martial arts background. We never actually seen each other in the sport, but he comes from a sport karate background, but also did a bunch of kickboxing. So he has this really interesting fusion where we understand each other because he knows how I move. It's very like twitchy and explosive, and he has that same style. So it just works perfectly for me. So I stayed there and I trained. So we became, I mean, like you would understand, any real like instructor and a loyal student, you grow this bond together where, he's like my brother, we're family. So, yeah, for me, it's great. And you're right. We're not making Conor McGregor money yet. Hopefully that day's going to come pretty soon. Well, I think it's deserving of it. But yeah, I mean, these guys still get paid out. I do have another striking coach, like I mentioned, Jake. Jake owns and is the head coach of one of the gyms up in the Northeast called Hard Knocks Muay Thai. So he's a Muay Thai coach, but he's also the striking coach for the guys I mentioned before, Calvin Cater, Rob Font, that crew. So he's got experience with guys at the high level, also experience with little gloves, So when I was working with Jake in my glory fights as well, but really when we decided that we were going to go the karate combat route, I had never put on little gloves, the MMA gloves before. So I'd never fought, full contact with the smaller gloves. And Jake has experience with that. So we're like, you know what? I've already been working with you. You're on my team. You're coming with me to my fights. So the first one where we got to display some of that was my title fight.
And how does your training? Are you doing one-on-one training with these guys, or are you doing group training, or a bit of both? Sorry, I'm just asking questions that I'd like to know.
Yeah, of course. It's a little bit of both. My home gym is Pride Martial Arts. I'm there 2 to 3 days a week, and I'm usually doing classes. I teach a class on Wednesday for like our competitors as well, because we do some coaching too at the amateur level. There's 2 other pros at the gym too, so we obviously get our training in. But I do a majority of like my heavy bag work. We have a great like sprint heavy bag class for my cardio. We'll do some skill training. Again, I teach a competition class, and then I'm teaching it, but I'm also doing it. So I get a majority of my skill work is there. Then once a week I go up to, go ahead.
Yeah. So what competition training specifically for future karate combat athletes, or UFC, or what, MMA? What are you teaching?
Yeah. So all kickboxing and Muay Thai.
Okay. Because what I'm really interested in is you're talking about, you train, say, with Calvin Cater and that crew, obviously, and then you're mentioning, when you, because obviously in karate combat you can't do thigh kicks, so people are thigh kicking you, but you can't thigh kick them. So what I'm wondering is, when you're training, obviously you've got your karate combat fight in mind that's coming up, in what, KC 38, and do you not train, say, with big gloves at all? Do you network, and when you're training, say those, like UFC guys, obviously they can take down, they can go to ground. How do you, do you know what I mean? Like, are you just focusing on doing the rule set, or do you find that training outside disciplines doesn't take away from what you're focusing on?
So if I don't have a fight coming up, I mean, I'm kind of doing everything because I like to be a student, right? Yeah. I'm all about putting the white belt on and, trying a bunch of new stuff. And if that means getting my butt kicked to learn something, that's part of the game. But yeah, I mean, in the majority of the time I'm training in, bigger gloves. This way, the big gloves are for our partners, right? We're not trying to hurt our partners and break our toys, right? You got to keep the longevity of your sparring partners.
But at the same time, because at my MMA gym, obviously some of the classes are MMA, some are a bit more kickboxing. And for me, I personally hate the big gloves because it's completely different. Like you can't get your hand in the same way. People are blocking differently. It doesn't feel the same. You can't grab the same. So that's why I was wondering, when you're saying you came from the big gloves and went to the small gloves, we
do transition though.
Yeah, also for me, when I was preparing for my MMA fight last year, I kind of pulled away a bit from the karate. I still did like one karate class on Saturdays once a week, but that was more like a bit of a social thing because my mates were there. But I was kind of like, I wanted to make sure that I was making a bit more contact, doing techniques, fighting at a different range that I was preparing for because I had that fight. So will you just be focusing on that rule set? That's my question. Or will you still be doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that?
Yeah, I mean, I still do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But again, if I have a fight coming up, that's when we really narrow down. It's like, I'm not going to stop my training partners from kicking my thigh. It is what it is. If they can kick my thigh, they can kick my calf, right? Calf kicks are a longer range weapon.
Sure,
so,
that's right.
But we also, depending on who my opponent is, we're going to come up with a game plan where we can bring in certain people of, similar size, really talk to them about, hey, these are the looks we need to see, whether it's like, hey, throw a big right hand or grapple me a little bit. When I fought Adamov, I worked with the judo black belt who had some MMA experience. So he was grabbing my belt and, trying to hip toss me and stuff like that. And we would do our rounds in big gloves and little gloves and then kind of get used to seeing what I need to see. And then after our rounds, it's like, hey, let's dissect everything and now teach me some stuff. So, we just kind of go through the motion. So as the fight gets closer, we narrow down. I have like some bigger padded. They're not boxing gloves. They're MMA gloves, but they're like 8 ounces. So they're a little puffier. So you can actually hit each other with it. Yep, exactly.
That's what we train with,
yeah. So we keep each other pretty safe, and I'm very fortunate, man. I've got a great gym, a great team around me where, no one's trying to hurt each other. We're going to go hard to the body and the legs and, we're not trying to knock each other out and have an ego in the gym where it doesn't count for anything, so I'm very fortunate. I've got an awesome team
with a good attitude. Like when I first moved to Brisbane, because I'm from Melbourne originally, and then I started trying to do a bit of jiu-jitsu and MMA. I went to a lot of gyms and ended up at Gamebred. The main reason I stayed there is because the vibe that as you said, like people are going hard, but they're not trying to, there's no egos. You're not trying to take each other's head off. And if you, it's helpful. It's like people are there to make you better so that they can get better. I think that's, and I actually, that's what I love about karate combat a lot more than say UFC or other, full contact stuff is I feel like the respect between the fighters and tell us, that's how it appears from the outside, but tell us if it is that way. It feels like the respect between the fighters is a lot more mutual. Like there's a lot of good vibes,
Yeah, I think there's just less of the fighting is fighting. There's going to be ego involved. I don't care who you are. When the rule set allows people to knock each other out and you're getting paid for it, there's always room for, you don't have to like the person that you're fighting. I don't care about any of that. I don't like or dislike anybody. But when you start to get closer to that fight, you're there to win. Yeah. So it's like, I don't have time for all that stuff, and it's not mandatory for me to be like, oh, super, super, super respectful. Like, yeah, I respect my opponent. Like but just because I have a black belt doesn't mean anything. When that bell rings, it's like, dude, you're going to do it to me if I don't do it to you. So, it is what it is. But you do see a lot more, like, the fighters are much more calm. I think you get a couple hotheads here and there, but for the most part, the fighters are pretty calm, and there is a good amount of respect. There's a little bit of showman. I mean, I have a little bit of showmanship when I fight too, and some people may view that as disrespectful.
I
I don't personally see that, but
with the little what do you call it? Bull, like
what's
the
matador
ring? What's the red
dance?
cape?
The cape.
The cape,
Oh,
yeah,
that was
the
awesome.
matador cape.
Yeah.
I mean, but
yeah,
he was
you gotta make a show, bro.
it's what's funny is, like, everyone
people there to watch.
I got slammed on social media for being disrespectful, and it was all from his camp.
Yeah.
Right. So and if I tell you, and, like, I'm not going to toss anybody under the bridge, but for someone who made such a big deal in the press conference about respect, and this is martial arts and respect, his fan base was terrible.
Oh, really?
The messages I was getting. The messages I was getting from these people over in Spain was unreal. And it's like, I'm the disrespectful one. It was crazy. Like, control your fan base, man. And I was telling all of my people, like, don't respond.
Yeah.
Don't say anything. But yeah, I was getting crushed on social media. But it's whatever. It is what it is.
Well, now you can upload it and let us show us, and we'll send it.
Nah, I would never. I would never. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And, like, the people who know me, like, everyone knows me, and, like, I've never had a reputation for being a jerk in training and competition or anything like that. So, I'll keep it that way, and I'm not really worried about what everyone else thinks. It's just I'm like I said, I'm 35. I'm here to make a partial living, doing some of this and test myself against the best in the world.
Yeah.
And I don't really mind if people like me, great. If they don't, great.
What's your plans with Karate Combat? You're hoping to obviously defend your belt, and, like, you're going to stay with Karate Combat. Like, you're going to focus on Karate Combat now at this stage, and stay with Karate Combat and try and defend your belt as much as possible. Is that the plan?
Yeah. I mean, I want to defend my belt. If I had, like, a picture perfect way to kind of mold the rest of my career, I definitely want to defend my belt as many times as they want me to have. There's a couple people in the division that I would love to fight. That eventually a couple more.
There's plenty of rumors going around about you fighting the next one.
Yep.
Who? Well, I mean, seriously, who is left in the division that you haven't given an absolute flogging to?
Yeah, so the crazy part is I kind of got sped up to the top really fast, right? So, I went through Grinovich in my first fight. I fought Igor de Castaneda, who had a lot more experience than me in the title contender. And then I fought Adamov, and it's like, wow, I ran through the top of the division.
That was a clean fight with Adamov, to be honest. Like, I think anyone watching that, the first couple of rounds, you're like, oh, and then by the end, it's like, whoa, this is...
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I think anyone watching it, even if they don't really know anyone, haven't done any martial arts, you see what you see, right? So, but I did want to ask you about your fighting style. I gotta ask.
Oh yes, we did talk about that.
So for me, what I find really interesting with your fighting style is when you're going forwards, you're a bit more kind of stepping forwards, kind of like I guess a bit more kickboxing kind of movement. But when you're moving backwards, it's more like a point sparring karate style kind of. Like obviously when you're back in your Iska days, point sparring, you're bouncing forwards, backwards. That's the way it goes. That's the way you move. But you've kind of integrated into your full contact style, like a bit more of anyone that's watched your fights, you like to walk them down, but you're always ready to go back. And what I want to know is, how do you? Because I can't do this. It usually takes me a little bit of time to gauge the other person's distance. So I kind of test a little bit, move out, see where their kind of techniques land, and then know how close I can get without them being able to hit me. But I feel like when I watch your fights, you seem to know the distance straight away. Like, there's no testing. It's like, I'm going to walk forwards, and as they throw a technique, I'm just going to absorb that, and I'm going to keep walking forwards, and suddenly they're in the court. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, it's a lot of, it's experience too, right? I've been doing the sport karate, so I understand that explosive range really, really well. And the guys that I fought in sport karate were the best in the world. So, even though, like we were talking about before we went live, the WKF has the Olympics, even though the sport karate doesn't have the Olympic level, like we're not certified by the Olympics, when I tell you these are the best athletes in the world, I was fighting Raymond Daniels consistently. Like I literally fought Ray 30 times. You know what I mean? Like that would be the equivalent of the
and you said Michael Venom Page as well. Michael Page.
I fought Michael Page. Yep. I was a little too young. Mike bullied me a little bit, but I was young when I fought Mike. But yeah, I mean, like you're thinking about these names that it's like, holy cow, these guys all came from the same circuit. It's like, yeah, we all came from the same spot. And there's loads of people that are at that level as well that you've never even heard about that never transitioned to full contact. So the explosiveness is not foreign to me, you know? So I'm able to kind of press forward, and yeah, sometimes it's absorbing and just put you on your back foot. And you think about what most WKF style fighters are really good at, it's controlling distance and counterpunching, right? Yeah. So if I can eliminate the distance and I can put you in a pressure situation where you can't step back and strike, you know, it's like you run into the wall. Yeah. I take all the best weapons away, and it's just a way for me to neutralize what they want to do. Now, the benefit of this also is, like you mentioned, I can escape and I can be evasive and move and find my way back to the center and hit the reset button. So,
but here's my question. Here's my question, because I want to be able to do that too, right? So I'm gonna, hopefully I don't pull my headphones out here, but so when you see, for me to move backwards quickly, I need to be, you can't really see in the video, but I need to be more like lower with my legs kind of bent, ready to push back, right? Like in a bit of a low stance, kind of, I guess, like a Gav. Like he's got a low stance, kind of Shigadachi, you know, ready to move in every direction. But for you, when you're moving forwards, your stance is quite short, and somehow you still move back really quickly. And how do you do that? Like, do you put more weight on your front foot? Like, is there a?
Well, he's not going to tell you.
I mean, like, tell me, man. I want to be able to do it.
No, I mean, it's all. Yeah, it's weight transfer. I think if you're when you're really low and really wide and you're bouncing, you can make one move really quickly, but those multiples don't really come as quick because it's too much energy to move your entire body. You know, you think about it too. I fight at 185 pounds, but I walk around at like 210. Right. So that's a lot of energy to burn, making hop, 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 hop. So a lot of it for me is just that walking pressure. And if I need a little more space, I can switch stances. So now if I need, instead of me taking one step back this way, if I step back and switch my stance, now I have, a gatekeeper in my front hand. I can kind of change. I can use my elbows, like as far as like guard. So it's just understanding that, like that Dutch style kickboxing and blending it with my distance control. So it's definitely a unique style that no one's really caught on to yet.
Yeah, but hopefully they won't after this.
Well, and the good thing is if they do, I'll be ready for it. You know, this is what I do. So, and this is what a lot of the guys I train with can do too. So, you know, if I could do it to them, I can do it to anybody. And, for me, it's just, you got to be able to, I was actually listening and laughing last night. I reviewed the Josh Quayhagen interview, and he was saying, I basically do things a little bit different that these guys aren't used to doing. And it's like, well, there you go. You got it from one champ. You got it from two champs now. You can't just do what everyone else does. You got to be unique.
Yeah. If you want to get to the top. I
mean, And how you control it, especially with that fight with Igor, it was just push, back, push, back, push. And he just could not.
No room to breathe.
Yeah.
I feel like, to be honest, with all your fights, they're only 5 to 10 seconds away from the corner. Start the clock, boys. It's like,
I like it that way.
They're in the corner.
It that way.
Yeah,
I don't.
Even if they hit you, you absorb it and just keep moving, and then it's in the back of your memory. Okay, well that's what he does, and then so it's kind of like he is testing already by absorbing those strikes rather than like touch, push.
But I also want people to kind of burn out mentally, so that it takes a lot of effort it's a lot harder to move backwards than it is to move forward. I can move forward, and I'm very fortunate. I'm blessed with great genetics. I'm pretty durable, so far so good. So hopefully that's all good there. But it takes a lot of mental energy, and it builds a lot of stress when you're like, oh my God, what's coming? I can't get out. Oh damn, here's the corner. I gotta move. And then you move, and it's like you're right back in the other corner. That's how I used to fight kickboxing too. A lot of lateral tracking from corner to corner, rope to rope. And the most dangerous you could be is in the center of the ring. So if I keep you on the edge, it eliminates your ability to move backwards and change. Yeah. So it only allows you to do one thing, and it's blast forward. So
you watch
if I
his
can
next
anticipate
fight,
that.
His next fight, he'll be pushing back, moving, and
Maybe.
just totally opposite. Because whoever you're fighting next has got these nates, right? So he's push back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
well, okay.
Hey, look. If something's working, you keep doing it.
Yeah.
If something's working, you keep doing it until someone figures it out. Why did you do it?
And I'll be very well prepared. One of the questions I always ask my coaches, and for the other fighters out here, a good recommendation would be ask your coach, what would you do to beat me? I feel like fighters don't ask their coaches that. It's like, hey, how do you beat me? How do you coach against me? All right, let's build those skills up so it doesn't happen.
So
I definitely want to work on.
I've got some notes here if you want to go through it.
Go for it.
No, that's my coach pretty much said the same thing leading up to my fight for the MMA, which was obviously my stand up is really good, my distance control is really good. And because I had 2 kids and a baby and a pregnant wife, I couldn't train as much as I wanted. And I said, look, I'm going to make some sessions. And he goes, well, if you're going to lose, you're going to lose on the ground. So you got to do work wrestling, takedown defense, and your jiu-jitsu, so you don't get submitted. And he goes, if you stay standing, obviously you can always train more, but when you have a limited amount of time, you got to focus on what your weaknesses is. Where are you going to lose? Where are they going to beat you? Get rid of that, and the fight should take care of itself.
Yeah, and then you strengthen those areas that maybe you're not comfortable. So you don't have to be great. Like when I fought Adamov, I was very clear with, like, when I did my interviews with Boss, it's like, listen, I'm not here to out grapple him. I'm not here to, you're not going to see me hip toss Adamov. It's not going to happen. And no matter how much time I put into it, he's just done it longer. But in the same sense, he's not just going to be able to stand there and strike with me. So if I can neutralize that advantage and just stop him from doing what he wants to do, now it changes the whole game, and you have to live in my world. And that's what we did. So, you don't have to be great at it, but you have to be comfortable in those uncomfortable situations.
Well, we also noticed you've done a bit of training with Machida,
who is actually obviously one of the greats, karate wise and UFC wise. And that, I would be, that would be a freaking awesome, awesome things to be able for me. That would blow my mind to be able to do a training session with him. How was that?
Unbelievable. So this was my first fight with Karate Combat. This was my event with Grinovich, and we were in Budapest. I really didn't know what to expect because of COVID and everything. Everything was very shut down. Like, usually I have a little team that comes with me to my fights, but it was just my coach and I. So they were like, you can't have anybody else here. So we get there, and I'm walking around the hotel the next day, and I heard some like buzzing from some of the guys that I know, and on like the administrative side, they're like, hey, Machida's supposed to be here. And I was like, oh, cool. That's really awesome. And then we did our weigh-ins, and I'm like rehydrating. I'm having like a little bit of food that I can. It's like an hour or 2 after weigh-ins. I'm drinking my drink, and somebody came over and was like, hey, Machida's here. They want to do a film session with you guys, like training together. And I was like, great. Like, I'm in. Yes, let's do it. And they're like, yeah, go back, take an hour or so. And I was like, I'm ready right now. Like, I'm going to do this right now. I'm not missing this opportunity. So yeah, I literally ran up, grabbed all my stuff, came back down, and we had a training session together. They put together a cool YouTube video, but I would say we probably trained about a half hour, just kind of going over a couple things. I got a chance to ask him some questions about things that I've watched him do. I love how he used his hip feint, which I then I was trying to do quite a lot.
We did see that in that fight afterwards, actually.
Yeah,
100%.
That because I obviously watched that clip. And I know the clip it's a clip. So, obviously when you're training, it's a bit different as well. But when the videos are the cameras are there, but we were talking about it
totally
the other day. Like,
watch, look, see it. Yeah. It was awesome.
But I do, in that video, I do love that idea of showing something. It doesn't have to be necessarily the front kick, whatever it is. Show them something, get that reaction, and then mix it up a little bit, move around, and then show them the same thing and hit them with something else. I mean, that's no one's going to disagree with that. That's classic.
It was awesome. But I mean, to kind of compound on that, whenever I go down to Orlando, I have a lot of friends and I have family that lives in Florida as well. So I train at a gym down there called Fusion Excel, and that's where Lyoto Cheyne trains all the time, you know, when he's in Florida. So I've had the opportunity to be there on their sparring day and get some rounds with him. And my goodness, is he just so good. He's so good. And on top of it, such a good person. Like everything you think of him as what you see, that's exactly who he is. Matter of fact, everyone that I've been exposed to from Karate Combat, whether it be GSP, Boss, Adam, you know, and then you look at Machito, Wonder Boy, they are all exactly what you think they are, which is so cool because you never know, right? You see some people that act a certain way and then they're really like, you're either disappointed or you're really happy, but it's not always the same. These guys are literally exactly what you think they are, and it's amazing. Such great people.
It's just real. What you're saying is it's all just
heart,
I think that does definitely come back to the fact that we all have like a traditional background, whether it's karate or taekwondo or jiu-jitsu. It's not a Muay Thai or an MMA background. It's more about the art. And I think that, especially with the Karate Combat and how you're saying everybody is, you know, just a little bit nicer than they are in the other Glory, UFC, or whatever. I'm not saying anything bad about them, but
no, you're not wrong though. You're not wrong. And if you think about it, right, you like when you walk into a karate school, the very first things they teach you, okay, this is attention, this is bow, we show respect. These are your values. There's a ready position. There's a listening position, right? There's all these things that instill values in you. You walk into an MMA school, it's like, here's your gloves. Here's how you throw a jab. Here's how you throw a cross. Here's your low kick. Like they skip over all that stuff on, and then like they'll backtrack around and be like, through these experiences, you will now be a better person. But martial arts leads with that. And I think that's why
be more of a focus.
Yeah, and I think that's why you, especially when you're a younger child, because you know, let's be real, and you've seen it, I'm sure, in your own gyms and stuff. When you get a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old that comes in, like there's no rush to teach them how to punch and kick because they don't know how to control their body, right? Let's teach them how to be respectful. Let's teach them some self-discipline, some self-respect. Let's teach them that there's consequences for their actions, and then the values follow in. And when you fill in the gaps with all the technique, now they learn how to control those weapons as opposed to just blat and they use it, right?
And I think
that's what's missing.
I mean, that for me, like you said, hopefully when adults get to adulthood, although, you know, men mature apparently slower, so we're not adults until we're 25 at least. But like with kids, I think all those, it doesn't matter what martial art you're doing, you know, whether it's jiu-jitsu or karate or whatever, but that idea of bowing and respect and all that stuff you just talked about, I think is probably the most important thing, or apart from the self-defense aspect. Most of those kids that train karate, like, you know, like I teach karate, Cheyne teaches karate, like kids that start and you know, probably a lot of them, more than half, unfortunately, by 18, they're not doing karate anymore. You know, they're definitely not going to become a professional like yourself, or necessarily even compete, and hopefully never get into a street fight because they don't need to use them. But all those other skills that they learn, you know, perseverance, determination, respect for the other person, controlling yourself, they're going to use that for the rest of their life. You know, so they're important. They're important.
And you think about, like, if you really ask any long-term martial artist, like that becomes successful, why they became successful, they will always point to martial arts, always, you know, and it's true. Those values cross over into real life, you know, whether it's relationships, work, you know, and everything that I've done and I've been successful with, I can attribute to something that I've gained from martial arts training. So, I mean, there's no way around it.
Is that why you, I mean, I was going to ask you before, but, is that why you found with with COVID, how so you're kickboxing and then it was just like massive hold? Did you find it hard at all to maintain focus on training when there was no immediate, before you'd signed with Karate Combat, when there was no immediate thing happening.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I said it was easy. It was not easy. Yeah, it's, especially when you're a professional, and I'm like, right now I'm 35. So a couple of years ago I was a little younger, but still, you look at combat sports, it's a very short window, right? So, I worked really hard to get to the point that I was at. I was in glory, I was at the highest level, and then all of a sudden it stops. It's like, well, now what? Like, when is it going to end? Like, because everyone was like, oh, it's just going to be a summer thing, and then we'll be right back at it. And it's like, ooh, not
Yeah.
so much,
Yeah.
So yeah, to go all that time, to always have the cherry on top at the end, and then that gets pulled away. It's like, whoa, it really forced me to reevaluate. And like we talked about before, kind of put the white belt on. So I had considered going into MMA. So I was doing jiu-jitsu private lessons weekly with my coach. I started training with a couple of the MMA guys who were training for their UFC fights. So I was like, all right, maybe I could do this. And then, yeah, and I wasn't as passionate. I definitely want to do jiu-jitsu later on in life. Like, when my competition career is over, jiu-jitsu black belt is something that is a goal of mine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I wasn't as passionate about it when it came to combat. So, it was like MMA just kind of fell by the wayside for me. And, like, to be real, I wanted to do something that I can really shoot to the top. And, without the years of wrestling background, it's like, you only see very, very few guys are able to do that, and I was like, it didn't match up for me. So karate combat was the perfect fit. I'm like, let's do this. I'm gonna be great here.
When I stopped doing sport karate at about 30, if there
was karate combat,
if karate combat was there, 10 years ago for me, that would have been, and look, that's why I did low grade MMA, because I want to do some full contact stuff, but I want to use my karate. But the only way I could do that was to get at least decent at jiu-jitsu, because like you said, you got wrestlers, you got people who've been doing jiu-jitsu for years. So karate combat, unfortunately, they don't have like a low level of that rule set. That would be, if they had that, I'd do it now, like an amateur level, like just that rule set, not televised or anything, but just that rule set as a night. That would be perfect for me.
Are you thinking of a business idea?
We'll talk about it later. Maybe we can do something. Yeah,
it can be called. It can be called Turbo Combat.
Actually, while we're on the turbo thing,
training.
So with your shirt, tell us about your shirt and what's happening with that.
I mean, it's a few years old now, but yep.
This is an old one. Yeah,
he wears it every day. That's why.
This thing took a beating, all right?
Well, hang on. Before we get there, what time did you wake up to do this? So
I woke up about 5:45 a.m. So not too bad. Not too bad. Last week you had me up earlier.
I did. Oh shit! Sorry, man.
No, it's all good.
The good news
my
here,
wife's sleeping upstairs.
It's like 9:10 p.m. now. So we got some Budweisers, American style.
4:00.
We're decided we'll go American.
We'll go American.
Just talking to you, so why not?
So
nice. Appreciate that.
It's not the best beer, but
it's not.
It's not the best beer, but it always reminds me of Vegas, so I'm happy to drink it. Because when I was in Vegas, they had these like in the metal aluminium can that you can drink in the pool. So
and it reminds me of
what kind of
story
can?
you telling me?
Like aluminium. What do you call
aluminum?
Yeah,
aluminum.
Aluminum.
Even though it's an English word. Anyway, aluminium.
Oh, no, but you know what I'm saying. So yeah,
I had to point it out.
Yeah. Actually, when you guys say that word as well, it's like you notice, like, what was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aluminum.
Oh, that's funny.
Isn't there an I in there?
I don't know. There's two O's. Aluminum.
But anyway, what were we talking?
So your turbo shirts.
Shirts.
Let's go back to. Let's go back, as well as teaching competition training. What else do you do? You run a PT?
Yeah, so I started off, I got my doctorate in physical therapy. So I have a 3-year doctorate for PT. So I was working in clinics for a long time. And then now that I got settled, I was working for a business here. And a lot of the local martial artists obviously recognized me from either we trained together or, whatever it might be. They heard about me through the circle. And they just started coming to me and just saying, hey, I want to work with someone who understands what I do.
Yeah.
And it was like, I just heard the same story over and over of doctors just telling these martial artists like, oh, just take a couple weeks off and, don't do this and don't do that and stop doing that training. And it's like, whoa, we can't just stop. If I told you, all right, stop doing martial arts for 6 weeks, you'd be like, yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah.
So it's like it was just so tiring of like, all right, so you hurt your wrist. Cool. I get it. That's frustrating. You got another arm and 2 legs. Like there's plenty of other stuff that you could do and avoid the wrist. Like let's keep you on the mat and let's work on the things that we need to work on to get you where you need to be. So, that just kind of sparked my interest in like, listen, I love working with the old lady that broke her hip, but I have this very unique position and gift to work with martial artists because I understand it. I've been there. I'm currently doing it. So I think there's a lot of relatability where, if you hurt yourself, do you want to go and work with a doctor who, maybe plays soccer or football? Or do you want to work with someone who is a martial artist and does exactly what you do? So I have a really cool ability to blend that together. And so I just decided I was going to start my own business. So I started Turbo Sports Performance. And, I do work with some other people, not just martial artists, but the marketing that's what I want to do. I want to be the guy who, helps martial artists all around the world, stay on the mat, stay healthy. And if you're a competitor, go more the performance route and just help you do the things that you need to do to become, a high level competitor.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
It's definitely way better. Like
Totally.
When I started seeing a physio that had done some martial arts, and it wasn't like a crazy high level of martial arts, but just enough, I felt like it wasn't just that connection, obviously on a personal level, but when you're talking about your injuries and this and that, they just approach it in a different way. As opposed to just a generic physio or maybe a sports physio that had done various sports, but when they've got that martial art background, like they can kind of appreciate the muscle groups you're using, the movements you want to do a bit more. They might say, look, pull back on this movement, but you can still do this movement. So you've got that, and I'm sure on your personal training, it's the same kind of thing,
Yeah. Well, the key is you're speaking the same language, right? So when you're talking to that person and you're like, hey, when I pivot on my reverse punch or when I rotate on my cross, I get this pain in my hip. And if you were to speak to someone else, they're like, oh, hold on, pivot, cross. What's a cross? Show me that.
movement.
It's like yeah. It's like there's a lag. There's like a lapse in communication. So the fact that I speak the same language as them and they can turn around and be like, he's doing it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like mutual respect. And exactly, the proof is in the pudding. So, and the stuff that I'm giving people to work on is stuff that I do myself. So, I think it's just very relatable for my clients and I have a really unique ability to give people what I wish I had, years ago. So I'm all in, man. I'm super passionate. I quit my job. This is what I'm doing full time now.
Awesome.
And you bring out some shirts soon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously you bring something better than that, that rag over there.
I got a lot of these. Yeah, man. Well, it's a little faded, but this is honestly one of my most comfortable ones. There's we have a couple. We have like a dry fit. This one's like the heather is super soft, easy kind of hang around shirt. My dryer tore it up though. I am going to come out with some new merch really soon. As soon as we get the announcement from my next fight, which hopefully should be coming soon. So we should have some information, I think, pretty quickly with the start of the year coming up here with Karate Combat.
Yeah.
So I have a couple ideas where as soon as they lock down exactly where their event's going to be, I know there's a couple different rumblings of maybe Miami, maybe Vegas.
I heard, I did hear that Vegas rumor, but I also heard a rumor of Europe later in this year too.
Yeah, I think they're going to do some really cool things this year. I mean, I would love for them to do a show in Baku. In Azerbaijan, you've got so many good fighters from that region. And like, why not? Though I feel bad. Those guys got to travel a long way. And, it's like I should be able to.
Bro, what about us?
So I would love for that fight.
Bro, do you know even though where Australia is,
right.
we travel
everywhere all the time.
You're right.
Bro,
you're right. It's crazy. So you see a lot of guys over there now in Perth is wild.
Yeah. Well, tomorrow when they got the UFC.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the other side of.
That's 3 hours from us too, bro.
It's 5 hours. It's 5 hours. I mean, 3 hours.
No, like time difference.
Time difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
it's like it's like LA to New York.
Yeah, it's the other side.
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
New York, they're LA.
So, right.
I mean,
so I know my geography. I'm good. I got it.
Like,
you guys are East Coast, West Coast.
That's
You guys have
right.
your version of. Does Australia have its version of Biggie and Tupac?
Unfortunately,
not really, mate.
Maybe in another 100 years.
Yeah.
Well, when you get the shirts coming out, man, we look forward to seeing them and possibly chucking us a couple.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, man, I got you.
Yeah.
We'll
we
take
come
care
out
of
with
that.
our own shirts as well.
Yeah,
They just happen to
There
be
you
called
go.
Turbo shirts.
Nice.
Yeah,
The Budweiser's getting
There you
to
go.
The Budweisers, yeah. So for this fight coming up in April, if you are to fight, who do you want to fight?
Man, I mean the division right now is pretty interesting because there's a lot of guys that are kind of teetering on that availability of like who's next. In my opinion, there's really only one person that might be next in line, and that's a rematch with De Castañeda. I think that makes sense in my opinion. And I said this on a podcast a little while ago. Like that makes sense. Since our fight, the title contender fight, I went on to win a title, and then he flatlined Franklin Mina in his last fight. So. At least he's coming off a win. I'm coming off a win. Yeah, it was a crazy fight.
It makes sense.
So he kind of earned that. They can write the narrative because I know he was upset that he thought they stopped the first fight early. So, there's a little story they can build up. And first fight for me to, defend my belt. And good for him. And not for nothing, the guy's got like 6 fights in the pit already. So
he's experienced. A lot of the other fighters in that division,
experienced.
They've only got 1 or 2, 3. And they've won one, lost one. It's
and that's where it gets tricky. Like even Franklin Mina is someone that has eluded me. I would love to fight Franklin Mina, but now he's coming off of 2 losses. It's like now he's got to build his way back up.
Doesn't make sense, yeah.
But there's a couple guys in the division I'd love to fight.
But you can't go for a title fight of 2 losses.
You've got Sasha coming through as well, but again,
I have a lot of respect for him. I would love to fight Sasha. I think that fight will happen pretty soon. I'm assuming he's going to be on these first couple events too. So, he gets another
win or 2, then he's
maybe 2. I mean, listen, the guy's proven.
It depends on how you win as well, doesn't it?
Sure.
There's wins and there's wins. If sometimes it's a close win or controversial, or it's a clear TKO.
Or KO. But what, he's a guy that I think would be an unbelievable fight because I have a feeling that our mentality is the same. I hate when I go to a decision. I hate going to a decision. I want to finish everybody. The early in my career I was knocking everybody out, and when Karate Combat brought me in, it's like, hey, we got this knockout artist from Glory. And, I was all about it. I have a lot of knockouts in my amateur record, a bunch of knockouts in my pro record. I want to finish people. I want to be exciting, and I want to challenge myself. And, you can't knock out everybody. But I feel like he has that same attitude, and he didn't get a chance to display it in the UFC because everybody wrestled him because his striking was so good. So, I think that's a dream matchup in the middleweight division. I'd love to see James Vick. I'd love to see James Vick come back and fight middleweight. I think the welterweight division is too low for him. He didn't look good in his last fight. But I think if he moved up to middleweight, he'd have a little more energy, be able to, be a little bigger, and that would be good. So I'd love to fight James Vick. I think Rob Buxton would be fun just because he's so big. But honestly, man, I also have my eyes set on the 205 division. I want to fight in the 205 division. So there's a lot of really good guys up there. Black Magic, he's from New York. I'm from New York. We can make that matchup. I've been waiting. I've actually been calling out the Wolf, Ashraf Uchen, the Moroccan, phenomenal fighter. Like, I'd love to fight Ashraf. I think that would be a great fight too. There's another Agayev, Elvin Agayev in the 205 division. So,
are you walking around about 205? Is that
210? I think you said, isn't it?
A little heavier. So I'm usually about between 210 and 215. 215 if I'm just like not taking care of myself, but that's pretty rare.
I'm 210
usually
as
like
well.
around 2
kilos.
You were saying kilos. You were saying before that off air that pretty much you've been in fight camp since October. That's why you're looking so good.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. I just got a haircut too, so that helps. But so actually it was that event where Igor fought Franklin Mina. There was also a heavyweight fight. It was Elvin Agayev had fought who did he fight? Chael Calloway. So, I wanted to kind of see those guys in person and kind of feel what those 205ers felt like. And it's like, all right, I can legitimately move up. I'm just as big as them. So, after that event, I spoke with the matchmakers, like, listen, you guys got an event in December. I know Raymond's on that card. You know, you put me and Raymond on the same card, we're going to sell that place out. So, you know, they were like, oh yeah, maybe we could do that. So I tried to fight 205 in December, and it was looking like maybe it was going to happen. Then it fell through. Uchan had a knee injury, or some type of injury. And yeah, so that didn't work out. And then we thought Karate Combat was going to start up in the year pretty early. So I just kind of trained right through the holidays, skipped Christmas, skipped New Year's. So I've been in fight shape, yeah, since like October. Yeah, so I'm just ready to roll.
Yeah. So my question was going to be like, do you cut a lot of weight before? I mean, obviously not if you're fighting at 205, but for your middleweight, like you know, with your last fight, say with the belt,
yeah.
Do you have to cut a lot of weight, and how do you do that? And
yeah, I mean, to the average person, you know, when I'm walking around right now at 205, which is pretty light for me on a regular basis, 'cause I've been training for a while now, so my weight steadily comes down. You know, I still got to get to 185. That's 20 pounds away. It's, you know, 10 kilos. So people would kind of go nuts when they're like, oh, there's no way he's doing that in 6 weeks. And it's like, well, I have a nutritionist. Yeah, I've got a nutritionist. I do exactly what I'm told. I don't mess around. I don't have cheat days. You know, it's like I just do what I'm supposed to do. I'm a professional.
So it's just a gradual, like those 10 kilos. How long do you do those 10 kilos in? 6 weeks,
you know,
12
ideally,
weeks?
in a perfect world, I would have anywhere from like eight weeks is like ideal. If I have 2 months to cut that weight, that's easy for me. You know, I've done it in less. I've done more in less. You know, my Glory debut was short notice. I cut a lot of weight for that fight. I also used to fight at 169. So I used to fight at welterweight in Glory. That was not good for me. But yeah, so now for 185, it's really easy. And then honestly, the last like 6 pounds or so is just water weight. Think of it like wringing out a sponge, and then you just fill back up. So, you know, it's really not bad. It's a comfortable weight cut. I smile through the whole thing. We're always goofing around. So it's pretty good.
So when you cut the weight and then you fight, how much weight do you put back on before you fight?
Water, right?
Just the water?
I don't, I don't like to put on a ton of weight. I've done it both ways. You know, I've done it where I really like refueled and tried to be bigger. And I realized I just felt a little sluggish because your body can't recover from that type of work. You know, it does affect you. I think every weight cut takes a little piece out of you. So, you know, I try not to put on and like, you know, balloon back up. So I like to, if I weigh in at 185, my sweet spot is like 192, 193. So maybe like 7 to 8 pounds.
Like, do you have a little ritual afterwards? Like for me, like when I was to cut weight for a competition, and you know, I'd be eating salads all week, and as soon as I'd weighed in, I'm like, I'm getting the steak, surf and turf steak with prawns on it.
Worst thing to do. That's the worst thing to do. So yeah, I mean, your instincts are like feed me. But like I said, I have the best nutritionist on the planet, Trisha Cornell.
What do you do?
She's actually my So it's honestly, she has everything broken down in such a science that it's made specifically for my body. So if you did my rehydration plan, it wouldn't be the same for you because I'm bigger than you, so I have different muscle mass. You know, my body holds a certain amount of salt. So, you know, the first thing is we actually don't even have solid food probably for about an hour and a half after I weigh in. So as soon as I step off the scale, I have my first drink. Usually I have 2 to 3 drinks that I have to take a certain amount of time to hydrate. And then that has all the different salt solutions and the electrolytes to kind of fill my body back up. And then we have like a small introduction of like really easy, honestly, it's baby food. It's puffs, like baby puffs. That's the first solid food, if you want to call it solid, that I eat. And then we usually do like a pretzel or, you know, we'll do like some fruit, like dates is something that I prefer. And then when it's time to have a meal, honestly, man, I eat like chicken and rice. It's just really easy to digest, really simple. My body feels great when I have it. And I keep it really simple, and I don't even bother like going for the steak because I want it. Don't get me wrong. I want steak and ice cream and burgers and this and that. But your body can't handle it, and you're just gonna feel terrible. And I'm sure you felt awful after you ate it.
But like during mentally, you're just like, oh god, I've been killing for it. But
you think about it, right? And I talk about it with all my friends who are pros too. It's like, listen, you've been busting your ass for 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks. What's one more day? One more day. Just be disciplined for one more day. And it's so hard. But man, I laugh my ass off when I see some of the fighters in there and they go and like the stuff that I see them eating, it's like, I'm going to kill you tomorrow. There's no way you're going to recover with that.
Yeah.
Oh God. Or like Caesar salads with like fatty dressing. It's like, I'm going to poke away at that gas tank tomorrow because you got nothing. Yeah. So, yeah, when you have a good nutrition plan, man, it changes the game.
Yeah. He doesn't need to test because he already knows. He doesn't need to test. He's already figured it out.
Science, man. It's science. It's
baby.
science.
So if you were to jump up to the next weight class, there's no gold belt holder at the moment, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Are we looking at a dual weight? Oh,
I would love that. I don't think that's something Karate Combat wants right away because there's not enough depth in that division yet. So if I do decide to go up to 205, it would be, I want to fight everyone that I want to fight at 185. I definitely want to fight Sasha. I think that's going to be a great fight. If they pull in some other guys, I'd love to fight a big name at 185 would be cool. And then I may, if they're going to let me keep my belt, I'm happy to defend and, fight for both. And I can fight in both weight classes. I'm not worried about that. But if I have to relinquish one belt and retire the 185 belt to move up, I'll do that too. It is what it is. I just want to fight the best guys, man. It's cool. I'm not holding on to anything, yes, I'm the middleweight champion, but the way I look at it, when I fight again, I'm not the champ. As soon as they say enter the pit, I am no longer the champion, right? I got to earn that again. I have to win another title and I have to win another title. It's, the people who hold on to that stuff so tightly, you become vulnerable. So,
it's really interesting, man.
It's gone, man.
Never really thought of that.
My belt is sitting up on a stand. It's just kind of hanging out there. I don't really show it off. It's not something that's, to me, it is a big deal. And I'm not saying it's not, but my career is not over. It'll be a big deal. My career is over. I got more work to do.
Always a beginner.
I know what you mean. Like it's if you get too hung up on a possession and you fear losing it, then you make your fears come true, right? You can't have that it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy because so it's better to just be free and and
that's time. Exactly. And that's the thing, that's exactly the thing. And I've just kind of learned that through watching and, molding myself after a lot of the guys that I look up to and, just kind of taking on those qualities and it's been super successful since. So I'm going to stick with that.
Or stealing your brother's karate trophy. But anyway, whatever floats your boat, mate. Whatever. Well, we might leave it there. Now, how do we find you, mate? How are we on Insta? How do we find Turbo and your merch? And how do we support?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much for giving me the time to plug. The best way to reach me is on my Instagram. So it's at Ross_Turbo_Levine, just like my name. So you can find me there. That's the best way to reach me for anything really related to martial arts, related to me, Turbo Sports Performance. I would say like 90% of my content is all about my business. So if you have injuries and you need to kind of build yourself back up, you can certainly find me there. Send me a DM. And I just love the support. Definitely follow me, like and share the stuff that I do. And I'm going to be dropping the merch there with links and everything. So, just pay attention to my Instagram and I'm there. I do have a Facebook, but I will say I'm not as active on Facebook as Twitter. Facebook and Twitter. Instagram is where I'm at full time.
Yep. Cool. And what size shirt are you? Medium? Medium. Large. Awesome, mate.
Medium, large.
Man, seriously looking forward to your merch, but and you bringing that out, but even more looking forward to whenever and possibly whoever your next fight is. Really looking forward. Your fighting style is exciting. You can kind of even before chatting to you, you can tell you're going in for the kill. Just the way you move forward, you're like, I ain't gonna be bouncing around here. Let's fight. Let's. I
don't get paid by the minute, man.
That's right.
I don't get paid by the minute.
Exactly.
But I'll definitely be watching that fight, man. Definitely watching.
If you need two guys to come over and help support, let us know. Obviously you're flying us over, and you know what? We'd even come coach. Yeah. We wouldn't go first class. We'd look after you. Just go coach from Brisbane to wherever it is, Vegas. Okay. That'd be awesome. Adam, if you're listening and watching, mate, Vegas, we're up for.
Bring these guys over. Well, you got to make the unofficial Karate Combat show official somehow.
That's right. We're gonna say we're gonna do it.
100%.
I'll say you guys missed the opportunity because remember they had that thing. If you get the tattoo, then they'll bring you out to a show. So you missed the boat.
Yeah, look, I ran that past my wife, She said something about divorce, and I said, look, it'd just be a neck tattoo here. You know, it won't be visible.
You won't even see it. You won't
even just talk to me like this.
Yeah, that's right. You stay on that side. So
Do
she
it on your
barely talks
dad's
to me
side,
now.
and then,
So
like-
what's the difference?
Anyway, brother,
There you
awesome to meet you finally, and
Same.
look forward to your fight, bro.
Yeah, can't wait to do this again.
Thanks, mate.
See you soon.